Non-duality.live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back, Neil. If you have any question, you can.
Emerson's frozen. Oh, well, I'll do Emerson's bit as well then. If you have any questions, I think it's raise your hand, and hopefully I'm not the best at Zoom and technical things, but hopefully I should be able to see that. And questions that I think questions that are typed into YouTube or that kind of thing, or I think you can type a question directly into Zoom, and that will appear and I'll respond to that. But I think Emerson will kind of field questions from other sources of media. Oh, Emerson, you're back.
Yes, sorry, there was a bit of a technical difficulty there.
Technical glitch, that's okay. I pretended to be you for a moment.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Neil. Nice to have you back.
If
you have any questions, you can ask via chat. You can also click on the reactions button, and there's a raise hand function there. We are live on YouTube. If you have any questions, you can also ask a question on YouTube. I'll also send a link on YouTube if you want to join the Zoom meeting. Welcome back, Neil.
Thank you, Emerson. Well, I guess an introduction is the usual kind of format with this kind of thing. I mean, really, the suggestion is just very simply that this is home. This is already home. And home is unconditionally free. Because this is already home, there's nothing needed. Nothing needs to be found because nothing's lost. And actually what's revealed in the end, and this is the surprise and really the crux of the message, if you like, excuse me, is that there is actually no one to be not home. So unconditionally free means that this can appear to be anything. So this is home appearing as everything, which means it doesn't have to be a certain way, doesn't have to look a certain way. There's nothing in this about, having to meet certain requirements or be a certain way. It's not about sort of becoming pure or about finding anything at all. So we can talk about that. We can talk about an experience which seems to arise within this or as home, which says this isn't home, which says that this isn't unconditionally free, which says something needs to happen, something needs to change, something needs to be found in order to feel for this to be home, in order for this to be ultimately whole and for this to be complete. And the response is always going to be, this is already whole, this is already complete. This needs nothing to be itself because it is already itself. So it's whatever is appearing. It's this talking happening. It's this apparent meeting happening. Its face is on a screen. It's speaking apparently happening. All of it is home. It's already what's longed for. So let's just go straight in. If anyone would like to ask a question, raise a hand or type something into the text. We've got a hand up. William, if you'd like to unmute yourself. Hi.
There's just such a desperate need, and I know this is the case for all individuals, but it's becoming so clear here that how strong that need is for everything to make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's actually to know. It's a desperate need to know what this is or what this is about, or to know what home is. It's a need to know how to find it, where it is, what it's like, because the experience for the knower is that I'm not home. I am lost. I need to find my way back home.
So the me feeling like it's not home experiences a distance between me and everything else. And it thinks it's going to overcome that distance through knowing what everything is, which in the end just keeps the distance there.
Well, that's the function of the knower, to know, to try and know. And knowing is actually the illusion, but this is never actually known. If something becomes known in a way, knowing just engenders the need for more knowing. There's always more. There's always more to look for. There's always more to find. Knowing engenders the need for more knowing. And that's really the trap for the seeker, is it gets caught in this sort of cycle, or this kind of endless going around and round in circles, trying to know what this is, trying to work this out so it can find out its position in a way. You know, how does this relate to me? How do I relate to this? Where do I fit in with this? What does this all mean for me? How do I make sense of this? How do I make sense of my life? And it's just a never ending going around and around.
So the whole seeking for more, and well, we're talking about knowing, but that knowing isn't just intellectual understanding, it's an energetic, it's like an experiential thing, would you say?
Yeah, so I don't necessarily mean the knowing of not how to make a cup of tea, or to drive a car or something like that necessarily. It is the knowing of this in some way, that this can be known, that what's happening can be known, home can be known, and if I can know what that is, then I'll be okay. That's what the me is looking for. The me is looking for its idea of home. It's not looking for this. It's not looking for home, because this is home already, and that's impossible for the me to accept. That this is already home, and that's the surprise. That this is already home, and it's not that home is found, or that there is someone who finds something. It's not another experience. It's just that the whole need to know home just falls away. And then what's recognized is that home is all there is. And actually, and this is the really impossible part, is that it was never not home. Home was just appearing to be a sense of not home, or to be the experience of not home.
And to the me, when you say that, it sounds like a new experience I'll have, where I'll arrive in this knowing that.
Yeah.
It can't hear it as anything other than a new experience for me.
Yeah. It's revealing that home is what is already, however that's appearing.
Okay, thanks, Neil.
Thank you, William. Christiane, please go ahead.
Hello, Neil.
Hi, Christiane.
Yes, I feel responsibility, and because I observe that I find real the link between thought and behavior, or thought and feeling. Like I feel angry at a person, and immediately there's that thought, and then there's a feeling, and then there's a reaction in my body. It seemed very close and linked. So perhaps you would say that it's home, that link, and the feeling and the reaction in my body is home. It's already this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, what might be happening there, or appearing to happen there, is an experience that everything you just described is happening to someone or to a center.
Yes, that's true.
And that's what. So when we say, you know, the I or the I am, which is this apparent energetic center, falls away or collapses, what's really being suggested there is that when that falls away, apparently falls away, of course, then really whatever appears to happen, including emotions, thoughts, or feelings, they just appear as wholeness, or no thing appearing as those thoughts and emotions. They're not happening to someone or for someone.
Yeah.
So there's no kind of energetic claiming of that in a way. Because when there is the sense to be someone, it's like it's the center of the universe, and it has to manage everything that appears or arises, which is a kind of a tremendous kind of feels it is a tremendous kind of responsibility, feeling like, well, what do I do with this emotion feels uncomfortable. What do I do with this? How do I manage this? Why is this happening? Is it because of this and this and this and so on? So a whole kind of, it gets sort of blown up into a whole kind of neurotic kind of explosion, in some cases, not for everyone, I guess, but that's just sort of what seems to happen when there is that sense to be someone.
Yes, it's the same. Another example, I'm not supposed to drink coffee because I have there's a sensation of, at the stomach, so it's a difficult habit to stop. But if I'm not a center, there's just drinking coffee and the reaction in the body, and that's all.
Yeah, well, yes, and you don't. There isn't a you who could choose to drink coffee or not drink coffee. Of course, either drinking coffee is what's apparently happening or not.
Yeah. But I find it, life is not okay with that. I don't find life is good, because I would like to be healthy, and that's why I feel responsible. But the doctors told me don't drink coffee, but I can't stop it. So disease could happen eventually, even if there is no center, disease could happen.
And that would also be just what's appearing to happen.
Ah.
So the only suggestion is there is no one. Home is there is no one.
There is no one. So there's only disease, and that's it. It's an energy.
If that's what's arising, then that's what's arising. Yeah.
Ah.
It may be that there is a natural response to, say, a warning from a doctor, and then there would be perhaps a not drinking coffee.
Yes, I don't know.
There's no one actually doing that already. There's already no one drinking coffee.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a few comments and questions on Facebook. This one is from Boundless Energy. This is for William, actually. I absolutely love your questions, William. Much of what is asked there also wants to be asked from here. You ask so brilliantly. Rajiv goes, hi, Neil. And Ida goes, hello, everyone. Blue Sky asks, does knowing this message do away with responsibility? For example, is someone knowing this more likely to steal from others because they know it's not them doing it?
Well, first of all, there is no knowing of this message. There's no one knowing this message. This message isn't coming from a knowing. It's just simply an energetic response, and it's a response to that experience of not home, to the experience or the sense to be someone who is living as a separate person or being or entity, whatever, a separate self. And as we've already said, the response is that that whole experience isn't real. Is someone knowing this more likely to steal from others because they know it's not them doing it? Well, someone might interpret it in that way, and yeah, if they might, sort of tell themselves in something like that. But that's not what we're talking about. What the suggestion is, or the message is, there's already no one stealing or not stealing. I mean, there's stealing happening all of the time. There's also not stealing happening all of the time. There's no one doing that.
Next question here is from Polka Dotted Sky. What is it about apparent compulsive behavior like drinking or drugs? Is there nothing can be done?
Well, there might be an apparent response to that. So if that's what's arising, like we were talking earlier, health problems or something like that, if that's what appears to be happening, then there might be a response to that. The revelation in the end is that there was never anyone going to see a doctor or perhaps trying to live a healthier life in some way, or to avoid drinking and drug taking. There's already no one doing that. So if compulsive behavior is happening, then maybe that's just compulsive behavior is just happening. But apparently there is drinking and taking drugs, and then people who stop drinking and stop taking drugs. There's just no one doing that.
Steve, please go ahead.
Hi, Neil.
Hi, Steve.
Thanks for doing this. I've had the opportunity to listen to you a couple of times. I really enjoy the way you convey the message.
No, thanks.
I've noticed that, let's say, walking along a street, perceiving what's before me, feeling, let's say, a breeze, looking at the houses on either side of me, the trees. Each of those views is almost automatically disappearing even as I see them. Any type of feeling seems to, let's say if I put my hand on my thigh, I think it would seem that there'd be a continuity of feeling on that, but if you leave it for any amount of time, the feeling really disappears. There's a lot of talk about everything and nothing, the simultaneity of everything and nothing, and I'm wondering if that disappearance within the realm of perceiving is the nothing.
Well, what disappears, sorry to talk over you, but what disappears is the sense to be someone walking down the road as you described, perceiving, noticing that things are falling away quickly. There's just none of that going on. That's the illusion, that there is someone who is noticing or perceiving. That is that sense to be someone.
It's just the eye. It's the eye itself, which is what disappears.
Yeah, it's essentially awareness, consciousness.
Right.
I am is I am aware. Yeah. That's the awareness is the experience of the dream to be someone. So a lot of that kind of stuff, like mindfulness, that kind of thing is about kind of noticing, being more present, noticing what arises, not what falls away, what comes and what goes, being more present in the walking down the street and all of that, noticing that, as you saying that, the wind on your face.
That's illusory. It's all illusory.
That's a part of the illusion that there is someone there having that experience. So that's essentially what falls away, is that awareness. And then what's left in the end is just unknowableness, boundless. It's just boundless unknowableness. Yet there appears to be a functioning. There's still a walking down the street and not bumping into lampposts and things.
And that so-called experience is what's real and not real simultaneously.
No, that's not real. The experience.
It's not real at all.
It's not real. No, it's not real. That's what's revealed in the end. It's not real. I would say the appearance. So the appearance of walking down the street is neither real nor unreal, or you could say it is both real and unreal. That's just what is apparently happening or appearing to happening. There is a walking down the street, but the sense that that's happening to someone who's noticing the street and having these sort of experiences that you describe, that's the illusion.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
There's a couple of questions here, and I'll get to you, William. The question is being aware, this is from BlueSky from YouTube, is being aware of awareness as taught by some non-duality teachers recommended?
That's separation. So I'm not recommending or not recommending anything, but awareness is separation. It is the fundamental sense to be someone. And I think really awareness is kind of what's left when, part of that sort of, I used to do a lot of that sort of stuff when I was a seeker. The self-inquiry, which is to kind of become aware of oneself as being awareness. And I think really in some ways that's kind of what's left, if you do something conceptually arrive at an understanding or a knowing. That's the other thing about awareness teachings, is they are about knowing. There can be an arriving in the conceptual sense of a knowing that I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my feelings, I'm not my life. There can even be a kind of noticing that, well, what is this self thing? It just doesn't, it's always changing. It doesn't seem to be fixed. It doesn't seem to be real. So then what the person then comes out of that with a kind of a conceptual understanding of no self, just awareness. But I would say actually that awareness is fundamentally the essence of self without all of the other additional kind of noise on top of it. It's like you can, it's like, it can sort of be gotten to that, just that fundamental sense of I am. And to the best of my understanding, that's what awareness teachers are talking about. They're talking about, I am as being true nature, or the ground of being, and finding one's way back to that. The only problem with that is there is no I am. And I am is separation. So I am is the duality that the seeker longs to be free of.
William, please go ahead.
Hi, Neil. So I've heard at least one speaker, I can't remember who it was, talk about when the separation apparently happens in the young child, there's a huge sense of loss. And sorry.
No, go on.
I thought you were about to, okay. Well,
I was, but if there's more, go ahead.
Well, it's just more that, like, I kind of feel like I'm aware in a way of what seeking is, or at least the effects of seeking and how intense it can be. But the experience of the sense of loss, I can't really reflect on that. And can you say something about the sense of loss?
No, it's just felt, isn't it? It's just something kind of fundamentally energetically sensed, I think, for some people. I don't think that's the case for everyone. I really don't. My old nana, she's long dead now, but she was a nurse in World War II. She didn't seem to be one of these people who went around questioning, why am I here? What am I doing? What's it all about? That kind of thing. She was a very kind of just, I don't know what the term is really, just a very gritty kind of get on with things. And so I don't, there would still obviously be the sense to be someone there. So I don't know if that sense of loss is necessarily the case for everyone. It does just seem for some people that there is at some stage a noticing of that sort of sense of something is not right, something's missing, like I talked about, and really that's a sense that that this isn't home. And really the apparent separation from home, because it is only apparent, of course, is what arises with that contracted energy, that tension. it arises as that sort of center, as that sense initially, as that sense to be here, to be present. And what then happens with that is it kind of feels unnatural in some way, and I'm sure everyone, you know, all the seekers and you know, maybe people here could sort of describe that feeling in different ways depending on whatever's happening there. But I think it's just something energetically sensed. It was here. It was a deep sense of, this isn't it. This isn't it. Something's, you know, I'm missing something. What is it I'm missing? And then there was also a noticing, even before I came across this message, that fulfillment wasn't to be found in, you know, in kind of having more. And ultimately, even here, there was a kind of a realization that fulfillment wasn't to be found in teachings or that kind of thing. So when I came across this message, it just joined all the dots, so to speak. You know, it just sort of ticked all the boxes of just, conceptually, you know, as I heard the message, you know, that just that resonance, you know, and the message talked about this sense of being lost. And you know, and then of course what the person does, or what that separate experience does, the response to that sense of being lost is I need to find something, because the reality for the person or for the individual is that I am undoubtedly, absolutely real. I am here. And that's what it longs to be free of. The reality of here, the reality of I am. And that's where this message is really good news, because that has no reality. And that may not be obvious there, but when we talk about liberation, let's call it, and I always say so-called liberation, what's revealed in that is that it's just the falling away, or what was recognized first here was home, undoubtedly home, this and hold, and just everything, just home. But also part of that undoubtedness is the obviousness that it's always been home. There's never anyone, there is no one to become lost. And then that whole, you know, because the me is, you know, there's a whole kind of structure that in a way then just completely just crumbles. It's just the whole thing, all the concepts, the ideas, the knowing is just completely flushed down the toilet. It's just, you know, okay, right. And just, it's not knowing, it's just obviousness. That there was never anything lost.
I really don't want this at all. I hate it. I hate being told that this is it. But the problem is, I know the seeking doesn't work as well. What I want is impossible, which is for the seeking to finally work, and then I'm here feeling fulfilled. I hate the idea of, if the me's here, it's seeking, and it will never ever find anything that will satiate that complete, like it will find satisfaction for moments, but it will never get to a permanent fulfillment. But then at the same
logic. I mean, there's you know, that's perfectly logical. That's a perfectly reasonable response to the sense to be someone who is lost or unfulfilled. And that is, well, therefore I need to find fulfillment. And that's perfectly logical. But the problem when hearing this message is just, there's no logical about it, really. There's nothing for that experience to get a hold of, you know. And that's what's frustrating when hearing this, you know, for the seeker. There's no purchase. There's nothing. There's nowhere to be with this. There's nowhere to go with this. There's no suggestion as to what should or shouldn't be done with this. It's simply a report, I heard it called recently, which I thought was a good word. It's just simply a report of the natural reality, which is home. And that's somehow, pardon me, that's somehow recognized energetically, I think. And I think it's recognized by that same deep energetic sense of loss, also kind of in that same deeper energetic way, resonates with the sense of home. But as I've often said, I'm sure before, what's happening with that resonance, or what's apparently happening with that resonance, is it is simply home resonating with the sense of itself. It's home resonating with home. The not home experience, the I am, will never resonate with this message, because as you kind of understand or get, is it's not going to be found by adding more to itself. But that's the nature of that experience. More. If I feel loss, if I feel lack, or if there is not enough or unfulfillment happening here, then obviously I need more. I was chatting with Emerson before the meeting. Jeff Bezos, you would think that man has everything that, in the material sense, that a human being could possibly have. And even in that sort of seeking sense, he's now wanting to build a space station, in a business park in space, a big space station. And it's like, even for that, you know, you're the richest man in the world, you've got everything you would think would possibly satisfy that need for more in the material sense. No, that's not enough. You know, everything that I can have, you know, everything, I can have anything on earth, and that's not enough. So now I need to build a business park in space. It's just never ending. And if he ever does build a business park in space, it'll then be, right, what's happening on Mars? What can I do there? It's just constant seeking that sense of satisfaction, which ultimately, very simply, just comes down to that sense of unfulfillment. And that's not to say that really, you know, for you know, someone who has died, let's say, that there's just sitting down and picking fluff out of one's navel, you know, 7 days a week. They're still going out and doing things and making plans of it. It's all just what's apparently happening. It's all home appearing as that. There is just absolutely no sense whatsoever that this needs to be any other way, or that this needs to be in some way more, because there is just no separation.
I think the problem as well for me is there are times when the story seems to be working out and going well. So you think, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll become fulfilled.
Yeah, that's
but then
the problem.
when it's
Sometimes
kind of
it gets what it wants.
But then when it's kind of just hits beyond like that knowing, when it just hits that there is absolutely no possibility of the me getting what it wants. Yeah.
But no one knows that. The me doesn't know that. It's energetic. That's just that experience. That's just the nature of that illusory experience, apparent experience.
Okay, thanks, Neil.
Thanks, Will.
There's a question here from Monica from Facebook. Is there recognition of being everything?
No, there's no one who recognizes. I know we can use the word recognition, or the word recognition might come up. I can't really think of a better word, because in some way, this is I might be setting myself up a little bit here to, but in some way, not by the knowing of the me, this is kind of known. This is somehow intuitively sensed what's being shared here for those who resonate with this message. But there's nothing that actually recognizes everything, because you can't get outside of everything to have that recognition of everything. The recognition of everything is also everything. what becomes obvious is that everything is actually just no thing appearing. So in that sense, everything is no thing, and no thing is everything. They're the same thing.
Epic. There's a question here from Polka-Dotted Sky. There seems like ivory tower responses. You keep saying that there is no one. Thank you for a response.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's the message.
Sebastian, did you want to ask this question yourself?
Yeah, do feel free, guys, to come on and ask a live question if you like.
Thanks, I'm fine.
Okay. Is there?
I'll read it. I'll read it.
Okay.
There's a little fear of the things here to just encounter them. There's a little fear of the things here to just encounter them.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what's meant by that, but what a lot of people what tends to come up in these meetings is, well, I'm frightened of there being no one, which of course is just a totally natural response from that sense to be someone, that there is no one, and that if my me fell away, then what would happen? You know, when I just run around with my pants off, yelling at people in the park all day or something, and that apparently isn't the case. Oh well, it might be the case in some cases, but yeah, it's a very confronting. You know, it's not a comfortable message. It is confronting. It's threatening for that experience. It's threatening to the me, this message, because it's really just exposing the illusoriness of that experience. And I would also say to that, to what you've typed, is there's no one encountering. There's nothing here having an experience of encountering something. There's just what apparently happens, which includes the appearance or the apparent happening of a body and a functioning and talking, whatever that may be. That it's all the whole singular appearance, just seeming to happen.
BlueSky asks, does sadness, fear, and suffering fall away with this message?
No, I wouldn't say so, not necessarily. I would say that the suffering that seems to kind of go alongside the separate experience or the sense to be someone, I would say that certainly falls away. I think for a lot of people, the seeking, is not a nice experience generally. Generally speaking, that need or that sense I was talking about with William earlier, that sense of loss or something needed, something needs to happen. That's generally not a pleasant or comfortable experience for the most part. But sadness, yeah, I mean, I just don't see why not. Fear, yes, but it just is happening for no person. So yeah, there might be sadness, there might be fear. It's not happening for someone. So yeah, it's just, if that's what's apparently happening, that's what's apparently happening. It doesn't need to be different. It doesn't need to be another way. There's no story attached to that sadness. There's no story attached to that fear. It doesn't stick to anything. It's not being wrestled with. It's just, that would just be what's apparently happening.
Question here from Kane. Kane, did you want to ask this question? I'll ask it. Hi, Neil. Can you talk about nothing's ever happened?
Yeah, well, this isn't actually moving. This is actually completely timeless. There's an appearance of movement, but the appearance as the overall, as the whole, isn't moving. So in that sense, nothing actually happens.
And this one is from Saeed. Saeed, did you want to ask a question yourself?
Yeah, I could. Hi, Neil.
Hi.
Hey, I hear this, that the me being there's a me, there's no separation, and being there's no me, there's no separation.
They're the
So I
same
get
thing.
confused that I get confused between being there a me is different than being there's a no me.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well, in some ways, and this will confuse everyone, just a no me is just as much of an illusion as a me, because there actually isn't a me to fall away. That's the surprise. It's just a way of speaking. It's just the way the message comes out. Because for the person, there is an experience from within the experience, from within the dream to be someone. That dream does seem to be real. Otherwise, these meetings wouldn't happen.
but there's actually no experience.
No, there's no experience. So there's no one to have an experience of that. There's no awareness, consciousness to be having an experience, or for this to be experiential. Really, I would say. Anyway. Some people may say, yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, all there is experience, but there's no one experiencing it. But it kind of doesn't make sense to me. It's just quite simply that there is just no one to have an experience of this. So when there was a sense to be someone here, it was everything was my experience. This is my experience. I am having an experience of this. Now I'm having an experience of that.
Yeah, logically, one can understand when there's nothing to be experienced. When there's no body or there is nothing,
well, there's already nothing to be experienced. The experience is the dream, so to speak. Because there is already no one to be experiencing. And there is, of course, already no separation.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And this one is from YouTube, Polka Dotted Sky. For the me, there seems to be many wants and needs. How can this relate to this message?
Well, I mean, I think the me just experiences itself as just being quite complex and nuanced and lots going on. This is the content of my experience. This is these are my wants and these are my needs. But it all just basically comes down energetically to need. So however that need, whatever that seems to be channeled into, or whatever direction that seems to be going, is just where that seems to be going. But fundamentally, it's all need. Me is always looking for something, or always needing something, always looking for something to add to itself. And what's being looked for, what's truly being looked for, is the end to the sense to be separate, which is actually the end of itself. The me doesn't want that, but that's what's truly looked for. That's what's truly longed for.
There's a messenger question here. Why is there non-duality integration suggested after awakening as offered by Neil from Nothing Cafe?
Well, I don't know anything about that, I have to say, but a lot of the integrating non-duality, it sounds like I don't know about that, but it sounds like a teaching to me. I mean, non-duality is what is already. So why would it need to be integrated? It sounds to me like the awakening, to use the word that you used, would be something that actually happens to someone who then needs to integrate it into their daily experience or their daily life. That's what that sounds like to me. I don't know if that's what is actually meant by that. There's already no separation. What's revealed in liberation is that there's no need for anything to happen. If there's no need for anything to happen, then there's no need for anything to be integrated. What's revealed is what is already, as being naturally whole, naturally fulfilled, in that there is no more need.
Thank you. I have a question from Monica. I'm not really understanding the question. Is nothing peaceful content? I don't know if you can. This is from YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is quite a common question, isn't it? You know, it's peaceful and content, and you know, I would be lying if I said that in the most profound way, it is peace, it is contentment, but that's kind of misleading, because there's no one being or having an experience of peace or of contentment.
This one is from BlueSky. Thank you, Neil. So do we not even get to choose whether or not to eat meat or be vegetarian?
Well, it's not that you don't get to choose, there is no you.
Bam. Sebastian, how to get rid of the illusion?
Well, an illusion, or I always refer to my Cambridge English Dictionary definition that I found here, which I quite liked, which is an illusion is an experience that deceives by creating a false or misleading impression of reality. In other words, it's not real. So because the illusion isn't real, as in it's not actually happening, then of course there is no way to get rid of that illusion, because the nature of an illusion is something that isn't real. So actually there is no illusion. The illusion is that there is an illusion that needs to be gotten rid of.
Let's go to William.
Hi again, Neil. I know you said before when we were talking today that in liberation, there's not just sitting around and picking fluff out of your navel, like, you know, there's still making plans, meeting friends and stuff like that. I'm convinced nothing would happen if I wasn't here. And I think that all of my activity is motivated by feeling unfulfilled and trying to get somewhere. And if the sense of fulfillment drops, there'd be no motivation. Well, there'd be no motivation to seek, but then there'd be no motivation to make things happen.
And here's the thing, that's partly true. I mean, there can be days of picking fluff out of one's navel and being perfectly fulfilled and content in. not literally, but metaphorically. Yeah, absolutely. There can be. Everything just stops. It just. I mean, it was never going anywhere anyway. But it's just forget it. Just over. And then there's just this aliveness. There's just aliveness happening. Home is aliveness apparently happening for no one. So there would be profound aliveness in sitting and picking fluff out of one's navel.
But I was thinking to myself, so like obviously there's no desire there to create an effect when sharing this message, because anything could come out of you apparently communicating this. Someone could feel more contracted and more on guard as a me. Someone could feel more loosened up, whatever it is. But there's no desire. There's just speaking. The speaking doesn't have an intention.
No. Well, there can't be an intention because there's nothing that actually happens in, as you called it, liberation. It's an unhappening, as another well-known speaker likes to call it. The me is a happening. When the me dies, or when that experience falls away, it's an unhappening. Because there's nothing actually really happening.
I guess this message isn't good news for someone who wants to make their life work and go well.
No, it's awful. But having said that, okay, so I said everything stops, but I mean, really, why not? Why shouldn't there be joining a gym? Why shouldn't there be taking vitamins? Why shouldn't there be going out for meals or going to the cinema? No one was doing any of that stuff anyway. Why not? Why shouldn't there be?
Because I feel like it needs a purpose. All of that stuff that apparently happens,
yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's a purpose, and the purpose is contributing to my fulfillment.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But well, the nature of that experience, and that's where we get back the separate experience, and that's where we get back to awareness and consciousness. Everything is my awareness, or is consciousness, or is arising as my awareness. That's the claiming that the me does. It claims everything for itself. Well, it doesn't actually claim everything for itself. It claims everything as itself. I am that. I am this. Another famous teaching, isn't it? I am that. It sounds to me like awareness. This because this arises in my awareness. That's me, and that's just the nature of that separation, of that dualism awareness.
What's kind of just come to mind now is what you said when we were in the hills about how remember when the spider was making the web, and you said the spider makes the web, it's the same as this driving a car and going to work.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Do you remember you said that? Yeah. So we assume that us driving a car and going to work, for example, is leading somewhere like a purpose, but the spider in the web is just the spider being a spider or doing whatever the spider.
Yeah, it's no different really. That's possibly me. Caught me at a more poetic, eloquent moment. It's no different to a spider spinning a web. There's no one in the spider. The spider just spins a web. And that's just what apparently happens there. So apparently, there is going to work happening. That happens here, apparently.
Okay, thanks, Neil.
Thanks, man.
This one is from King from YouTube. If the feeling of being here in a physical center falls away, does the entire sense of self and the story of life unravel from there and become recognized as illusion?
I'm going to have to read that one again.
If the feeling of being here in a physical center falls away, does the entire sense of self and the story of your life unravel from there and become recognized as illusion?
Not strictly speaking. The revealing is that there was never a story and there was never a life. And there was never anything to unravel.
Next question from Gas from YouTube. But something must stop believing in an illusion, right? I.e., snake and a rope. What stops believing? Was the belief an illusion?
Well, actually, the surprise is the illusion to be someone was wholeness just appearing as the illusion to be someone. So it never stops being believed. It's just recognized that the illusion to be someone was home, just appearing as that sense to be I am and I am not home. But energetically, what happens, and it, you know, this is the thing, it's not something believed in the first place, so it's not something that can be kind of unbelieved, or then when that you know, that illusion is over, that then there is then a reflecting on that there was a belief in the illusion for it to be over. I mean, that's the really indescribable part to that unhappening, is that it was just never real. An illusion isn't real. It isn't actually happening. So there was actually no one to believe it in the first place. So I would say it's just more the sense to be someone, or actually the sense to be here, where just energetically just dissolves.
Brilliant. Polka Dotted Sky goes, the me has lost motivation, inspiration for living in the world. Can life continue?
Well, actually it hasn't, because another shocker, the me doesn't do anything. It just seems to be there experiencing. It doesn't actually do anything. It's completely powerless, actually. It doesn't have, it's never had a thought. It's never made a choice or decision, this sense to be someone. It's never, you know, or through that making choice and decision brought about a course of action. There is just what apparently happens. When there's that sense to be someone, it's just quite simply that what is apparently happening is happening to something or to someone.
Dibujo Digital asks, why the me feels so real?
Well, it's just not questioned, really, I suppose. Well, I guess some people question it, like we talked about earlier with self-inquiry. That just seems to be the nature of that apparent experience. Because the me is convinced I am real. It's just it's here. If there's one thing for sure in life, is I know that I am and I am here. That's just how that experience seems to be. But of course, it turns out that it's not real at all. It's not actually there. So it has absolutely no reality. As in, it really isn't happening.
Blue Sky asks, so if my young daughter decides not to brush her teeth for a week, then there's no one that can do anything about it.
Well, there might be an apparent responding to that. Telling your daughter to clean her teeth. No, but that's not coming from a me. That's just what is apparently happening.
Abby, please go ahead.
Hey, Leo.
Hi.
So what's coming up right now is like, like the feeling of like, I guess the sense that like the me would do anything to find that ultimatum, whether one feels like one knows what that is or doesn't, just to avoid the emptiness, like of one's own absence.
Well, that's the only way that me can imagine its own absence is an emptiness or a void.
Mm.
Yeah, but that emptiness is also fullness. Because it then, you know, I mean, and you know, it's just sort of with emptiness, you know, to the person or to, you know, to the me, that would sound like just sort of nihilism or something.
Like a real
This
nothing,
is empty.
like a real.
This is completely, sorry, just to finish, this is empty.
Sure.
This is completely without direction, completely without meaning. But that is also its fullness.
Right, because like the pointlessness to the me is like just like, that's just so awful that like there's no that there wouldn't be a resolution to being, because
But
it's
there
my
isn't.
being, and there isn't.
There isn't a
I
resolution.
mean,
to
how?
it.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what's being recognized, but also this sense of like that's also in a way just part of like, I mean, that's what's apparently happening. But this me like really feels really strongly that like something, there must be something to get, you know.
Yeah.
There must have been, because there must have been like a point at which like empty, like the like, I guess we like the term separation, like kind of points to that. Guess I'm not finding the words, but like that, like there's a real like
there's a real
point,
that's
that
it.
there's a real point, or there's
There is a real.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because if there's a real, then there's a,
then I know where I am.
Yeah. Right. And I can move towards what I feel is the solution to the separation.
Yeah. Or
that
I can just be with what is real. Yeah.
Right.
What's real for me. Yeah. And there really is just no answer for that from here.
Right, because it's already like, it's like this extra, it's like this additional need. Like it's not like
well, the me is
it's
need.
already, yeah.
So fun, just that's just the nature of that experience. Is just it's need. Something, it's lost, and therefore then a need. And
Yeah, something was,
and that's
something,
really that. Well, that's really the end to it from there. It's just because that's why the need is never fulfilled, because it is need.
yeah. Yeah, like something really is needed because there's something really going on that really has a point.
Yeah. That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
There is no point. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no point where there's no point.
But there's no point, no, because there's no need. And there's no need for a point. Thanks, Avi.
Yeah, thanks.
There's a question here from Saeed. Saeed, did you want to ask this question yourself?
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going with this question, but I think you probably just answered it. In the emptiness, or there's a perception happening, and there is body. When you look in the mirror, does is it a me's perception, or is it just
no? And it isn't there either. No, it's just an appearance, which is no different to the appearance of a mouse, a laptop, window. I mean, obviously the brain kind of, recognizes a difference between mirror, laptop, but in the known sense, in the perceived sense that really I think you're talking about, no, there's no perception of there being, one's reflection in the mirror. There's just reflection in the mirror.
So is it still me perceiving, but without the story?
No, there is no me. There is no me. And just to be clear, when we're talking about a me in this meeting or with this message, we're talking about the energetic sense to be someone. So we're not talking about the body. The body is just an appearance, or it's just a part of the appearance, if you like. There's an appearance of body, but that energetic sense to be someone in the body or as the body, that's what collapses. That's what falls away. But that energy, if you like, that tension was never a me, and it was never separate. It was just an apparent tension, an apparent contraction, out of which the me experience seems to arise. So when that energetic tension falls away or just dissolves, if you like, can't think of a better word for it, then the whole me experience just comes down like a house of cards with it. And then ultimately what's seen is that whole claiming to be a me out of that contracted energy was never real.
Yeah, but when you say it falls away, and in the sense,
Apparently
like,
falls away.
apparently realized that it was never there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That you can also say that this is already the case.
Yes, well, ultimately that's the surprise. Yeah, that there is no me, so therefore there is nothing that needs to happen. Has someone got their microphone? Sorry to interrupt you just for a moment. Oh, that's it. I've done it. Sorry. Carry on.
So yeah, so in the sense that has already fallen away.
Well, the tension in the body is what seems to be supporting the sense to be someone or be a me. It seems to arise out of that tension in the body. It sort of becomes obvious that that's how it is in that sort of falling away. But then there actually wasn't a me. And even that experience to be someone was just wholeness or home, appearing as that sense to be someone who is not home. It was just, I mean, you know, just here, it was just suddenly, just absolutely undeniably obvious that this was home. And this is whole and complete. And then the whole thing just, you know, just had nothing, nowhere to go or be with it. Just that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Couple of questions here from Facebook. YouTube. BlueSky asked, "Thank you, Neil. What will be experienced after the physical body dies?"
Nothing. Because there's already no one experiencing. There's already no experience, no real experience.
Next question. How about understanding this universe is a projection of the mind? By Monica.
It depends what you mean. I mean, do you mean in the kind of understanding of you know, the moon and the solar system, or do you mean universe in the more kind of new agey kind of sense? I don't think anyone understood. I don't think even Brian Cox would claim to understand the universe, if you're meaning it in a literal sense. You know, would claim to understand the universe. Oh, sorry, I misread that. Understanding this universe is a projection of mind. This is interesting, because I heard something about this recently. No, no, I wouldn't say that at all. There's just that whole issue of. So that seems to be, we're kind of going back to this consciousness type thing. That seems to be, well, it's a really nice story for me to get its teeth into. That you know, that I am the universe, or the universe is just a projection of my consciousness. Yeah, it's quite sweet, really.
From AB, it feels like the body, objects, and the me are all just phenomena, but there is this emotional painfulness when the me is totally engaged with.
Okay. Yeah. It's sort of when there is that sense to be someone, it does seem that to kind of create a neurosis around emotions and things like that, and it seems that the ownership of emotions seem to exacerbate them, or you know, make them more intense. No, I wouldn't say make them more intense. I wouldn't say that's right. What was kind of noticed here is that emotions were felt very intensely, but just for much short periods, because there was nothing for them to stick to, really. So anger could just suddenly come up and just, you know, and then just be done and gone, and not really thought about afterwards. No one noticed that. It's just what was apparent. And the body
is the tension in the body created by the brain? Is that the one?
No, well, I was just reading the first part of that question. It feels like the body, objects, and the me are all just phenomena. Well, I would just say that they are. The body is just an appearance, and there are no objects. Because for there to be objects, there would, of course, have to be subject. For the objective, there would have to be the subjective. That's separation. That's dualism, so to speak. Sorry, Emerson, what was the next one?
Stelius asks, is the tension in the body created by the brain?
Who knows is the answer to that, really. Who knows? It's just seems to be there. I mean, you know, there's no way to know that it's there, because it's just we say there's tension in the body. It's actually that tension seems to arise in everything else. So that not out of that tension, there is not only the sense to be someone in the body who is real, but there is also the sense that everything else is real. But yeah, I mean, I have heard some speakers say that, you know, the me is that, or the human brain seems to be able to, or has evolved to be able to abstract this sense of self. Yeah. But that, I mean, that makes it sound, I mean, that's okay. It just makes it sound, you know, like almost like you could dissect someone's brain and find their me, or you could, you know, wire them up to, you know, whatever they neuroscientists use, and you could locate their me or something. And I just don't think that would be the case necessarily. I just, you know, it's just energetic. Sounds, it sounds, you know, to say that it's just something energetic, it sounds mystical in some way. And you know, although this is the mystery, in the really, you know, this is never known or revealed as something known. But yes, it's energetic, and it's really, you know, it's felt. I would say it's felt, that tension. It's like, woo, you know, it's you know, it's felt. But that tension isn't a me, just to be clear. It's just an apparent tension in the body, out of which the sense to be someone and the claiming of I am seems to appear or happen. Did you write that, Emerson? Due to request, there's going to be a breakout room after this meeting?
Yeah, there's going to be a breakout room. A couple of you guys requested.
Have I caused a stir then?
Yeah.
That Neil Denham, I didn't like what he was saying.
There's a few more questions here actually that just came up here. Would you show up at the breakout room, Neil?
Yeah, I'll hang out for a bit if people,
Okay.
unless people really do want to talk about me while I'm not here.
3 more questions.
No, I'll hang out. I've never done the breakout room. I don't know how it works.
It's quite fun, actually. Yeah,
I'm happy to hang out for a bit. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
BlueSky asked, "Are there any Indian sages whose message was similar to this?"
Not that I've heard. I have to admit, I died before I got around to the Indian teachings. But I think, you know, I'd already put down those sorts of books, really, to be honest. Yeah, some of them say may sound similar to this, but yeah, I mean, no, not that I've heard. It might be, I don't know.
Dibujo asks, "You say the body is an appearance. How do you define an appearance? Is the mind also an appearance?"
Well, I would actually say there isn't a mind. The body, yeah, it's just, well, there is no defining the appearance. That's the thing. So, you know, this is where we get into trouble with words, of course. You know, it's just simply, it's just what seems to be. There seems to be a body. It's not real. It's just an appearance of body. There's no one in it. It's just bodying. It's no thing bodying. So there is no defining of the appearance in that sense. And the reason why I would say that I tend to think of, whether rightly or wrongly or doesn't matterly, as the mind as almost being the kind of the mental, that tension sort of manifesting in the mental way. It's that kind of, that there is a mental center or place where thoughts happen. Or, I mean, for some people, mind may just be the idea that, you know, that that thoughts are the mind or something like that. But I would just say what would also seem to fall away here, and some people might disagree with me, I don't know, is but also the sense of having a mind and that this is my mind. This is home appearing as running out of batteries. The sense of that this, in the mental sense of that this is happening to a mind, or what this appearing is appearing in a mind, it just wasn't real at all. They're still thinking, of course. They're still emotions. They're not happening in a mind or to a center or to a mind. They are simply no thing thinking, thoughting, no thing emotioning, no thing bodying, no thing functioning apparently, no thing talking, and no thing listening.
Polka-dotted Sky asks, would you say that the body is secondary, a result of something more that is understandable?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean. No, I mean, that just sounds like a story to me. Again, the body is just a part of the appearance. It's no thing bodying. Yeah, to answer that. Yeah. Sorry, do you want to read the question?
Yeah, sure. Silius asked, so when you died, is that when the body tension stopped appearing? Was it recognized that the tension was no longer there?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so to speak, of course. I mean, there is no one to die, of course. It's just a phrase. Sounds quite dramatic. But yeah. 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 It's the recognition that there is no one. Death is the recognition that there's no one to die.
William for the last call. William, go ahead.
Neil, when you say there's nothing happening,
Hi, William.
Hi, when you say there's nothing happening,
yeah,
you mean there's no actual reality taking place? Like this isn't really taking place?
Well, it isn't real. It's just what appears. It's just what's seemingly happening.
And the me experiences it as real because the me experiences itself as something solid, so it thinks this is something.
Yeah, basically the me turns this into an actual reality, into something just solid and real. Yeah, totally, because that's how it experiences itself. And we talked about earlier, or I said earlier, that the me claims everything as itself, which means that if I am real, then everything else is real. What seems to happen when the I am real falls away, or when it's no longer happening, then there is also no longer a this is real. It's not, as you know, or I've heard before, it's not, we're not saying, or the message isn't saying that this is unreal and that there wouldn't be a looking both ways crossing traffic, or there wouldn't be a wearing seatbelt in a car. So we're not saying that this is an illusion. The illusion is that there is someone in it. But appearance just seems to be the better word to describe the appearance.
Yeah, because, for example, you were saying you'd be in the breakout room later, whereas if the me thinks I'll be doing whatever it is after this meeting, that is something real that will be happening to me, and therefore making the right decision, consequence.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm asking, is that the difference when there isn't someone? There's not a sense of needing to get it right, to have the right outcome or consequence for me?
Not for me, no. But I'm just trying to sort of think of an example. I mean, there's apparent functioning or things that happen where the outcome might be quite important, so to speak, not to someone. I can't think of an example. My brain's getting a bit tired now. But yeah, I mean, think of anything sort of precarious that the body might do, then it might be sort of quite crucial that it doesn't go wrong, so to speak.
So really, in essence, nothing changes on the level of brain activity or body function.
Well, nothing actually changes at all. What's revealed as being that apparent happening is that it never happened. You know, I understand how that sounds, you know, to the person, and it's just really, you know, it's just going right back to the start of the meeting. You know, what's revealed is just home, always home. No one to be lost. No one, you know, no one to be cast out of paradise. It's just becomes obvious that there is just no one to be separate. And part of that revelation is that even that appearance to be someone who felt themselves to be separate was perfectly whole, perfectly natural and complete.
Thanks very much, Neil.
Thanks, William. Should we leave it there, Emerson?
Yep. Thank you so much, William. Thank you so much, Neil. If you guys want to donate, I have sent a link there for Neil. If you guys want to join the breakout room, I'm going to end the